What's up, smarty people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast. It's called What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, have some historical facts. History facts. I like history facts. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But what about those who think they're learning history, but are actually reading myths? A number of well-known historical anecdotes are either exaggerated or completely false, making the task of discerning fact from fiction all the more difficult. From apocrypha to popular misconceptions, there's six. Here are six historical facts that aren't true. Myth. People were burned at the stake during the Salem witch trials. Though 20 different people were indeed convicted of witchcraft during the infamous Salem hearings of 1692 to 1693, none of them were burned at the stake. 19 of them, 14 women and 5 men, were hanged. 5 died in jail, and 1 man was pressed to death with stones after refusing to enter a plea. The confusion stems from the fact that those found guilty of witchcraft in Europe, where it was treated as heresy, were burned at the stake. Burning was supposedly a way to purify the convict, and also as a threat to uncover conspiracies, according to the Salem Witchcraft Trials, A Legal History by author Peter Hoffer. Hanging them, meanwhile, was punitive. Myth. Cleopatra was Egyptian. Though she ruled over Egypt as its last pharaoh and was born in the ancient kingdom, Cleopatra wasn't ethnically Egyptian. As part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, that starts with a P, by the way, Ptolemaic dynasty, she was actually a Macedonian Greek, believed to have descended from one of Alexander the Great's generals. Her name came from the ancient Greek Cleopatra with a K, meaning honor of the father or glory of her father. She was, however, the first of her line to learn the Egyptian language and is known to have made other efforts to embrace her subjects' customs. How about that? Myth. Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." It's gone down in history as one of the most out-of-touch quotes of all time, one that emphasized the last queen of France's disregard for her own people. There's just one problem. Marie Antoinette never said it. The actual words in question, "Quis management de la brioche," comes from Jean-Jacques Rousseau's autobiographical book, Confessions, in which he wrote at length, "I remember the last resort of a great princess who, when told the peasants had no bread, replied, 'Let them eat brioches.'" Brioches. That passage was written in 1765, at which time Marie Antoinette was still a child and had yet to step foot in the country she helped rule from 1774 until the French monarchy was abolished in 1792, a year before her execution. After accidentally stepping on the executioner's foot, she spoke her last words, which were considerably more polite than the quote so often attributed to her. "Pardon me, sir, I did not do it on purpose." How about that? Marie Antoinette's last words. And she never said, let them eat cake. Myth. Napoleon was short. I've heard this so many times. Despite having a certain complex named after him, Napoleon Bonaparte was of average height for his time. Part of the confusion stems from the nickname Le Petit Caporal, which makes him sound little, but was actually a term of endearment among his troops. There's also the fact that inches were measured differently in the 19th century France than they are today. The former was equivalent to 2.71 centimeters, whereas the current measurement is 2.35 centimeters, which explains why he was only considered 5 feet 2 inches tall when he died. Most estimates put him closer to 5 feet 6 or 5 feet 7 inches tall. Not exactly a towering figure, but average or slightly above average by 18th century standards. Hope that cleared it up. Myth. The Library of Alexandria burned down in a fire. Few symbols of knowledge loom as large in the collective imagination as the ancient Library of Alexandria, whose supposed burning has long been recognized as a monumental loss civilization has never fully recovered from. And while it's true that the famed institution eventually ceased to exist, it wasn't destroyed in a single conflagration. That took much of the world's ancient wisdom with it. What actually occurred is less dramatic, but in its own way, just as tragic. Both the collection and its influence so slowly dwindled over the course of several centuries, until whatever was left to burn represented a tiny fraction of the hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls once stored there. No one is exactly sure what happened to the library, which was in fact part of a larger institution devoted to the muses, goddesses who inspired all arts and knowledge in ancient Greece, known as the Museum. Though everyone from Julius Caesar to Theophilus I of Alexandria has been blamed for its destruction, the library may be no more, but its legacy persists. Myth. Albert Einstein failed math. Though it's often cited as evidence of his humble beginnings, Einstein didn't actually fail math. Quote, I never failed in mathematics, end quote, Einstein said in 1935 when presented with a Ripley's Believe It or Not headline claiming he had. Quote, before I was 15, I had mastered differential and integral calculus, end quote. The anecdote is often retold to inspire the rest of us not to let early setbacks deter us from chasing our dreams and reaching our full potential. Our worthy sentiment, to be sure, just not one supported by the evidence in this case. I hope that clears something up for you. Watch out, man. Sometimes you'll read some stuff on the internet and it won't be true. It won't actually be true. So find other sources. Find some sources that you trust. And if they fool you once, stop trusting them. I think I saw a meme. If it's on the internet, it has to be true. Abraham Lincoln. That's not true. That's not true. Abraham Lincoln never said that. Never said that. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Smarter. If you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast. It's called What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Hey, if you comment, I may tell those comments in a future episode. I like some interaction. Let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.